what is one habit that changed my life? There's so many things I think that go into changing somebody's life. There's a lot of different factors. There's habits, there's choices, there's decisions, lifestyle. But if I had to say one habit that changed my life, it would be this. It would be showing up with, I would say, a spirit of excellence or joy no matter what. And what I mean by that is pretty much deciding that no matter what, I'm going to give my best and I'm going to try to do it with a smile on my face. Here's why these things have changed my life. Let's get into it. So, the first reason why is it allows me to be accountable to nobody but me. And that's a hard thing. But I think when you really ultimately want to change your life, it shows you that you are only responsible for yourself. I know that when I was growing up, and as a lot of us were, I would do things, and I'm like, and your parents were like, why you did it? Well, such and such did it, and it's like, well, such and such is my child. You know what I'm saying? You're my child. You don't do that. Or if such and such jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge too? You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things. And really, what they were trying to tell you is that you are solely responsible for your life, nobody else's. You know what I mean? Not your girlfriends, not your parents, not your siblings. You can help people. You can try to help the world around you, but you are solely responsible for how your life turns out. And that could be a sobering truth. That can be frustrating, but I think for me that can be inspiring because it shows me that means that even though other people can make my life hard or their life can be hard and challenging, I can kind of decide where my life goes. I can ultimately decide how successful I am, not necessarily somebody else. Minus the, what I'm saying, environmental factors and stuff like that. Like me, I can decide how good I want to be at something. You know what I mean? Now that doesn't necessarily mean that I'll make it to the NBA or anything like that, but what that does mean is that I can decide how good of a player I want to be in basketball. I can decide how good of a tennis player. I can decide how dedicated I want to be. And so I think ultimately deciding, hey, I'm gonna show with a spirit of excellence. I'm gonna give my best anyways. It shows me that you know what, you're accountable to yourself, and you're deciding that even if the environment is bad, you can complain about it, or you can allow whatever those things are to make you better. I think the second thing about that is it makes me not care about people's opinions. Like it allows me to focus more on what I'm doing and less about other people. You know what I mean? And when I say that, it makes me like you're so focused on you and how good you can be that you're not worried about everybody else. You're not worried about the social media. You're not worried about what other people's lifestyles are. You're worried about you and how good you want to be or how you want your life to be. And so I think showing up with a spirit of excellence, it also, I would say the third thing, it also creates a kind of work ethic in you. And what I mean by work ethic, like it makes you resiliency. And I think that's important because when adversity comes in your life, you're able to deal with it with a, a chin up, chest out kind of mentality. And so for me, this has like totally changed my mind, the way my mind process things, because it's like, you know what, I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna make the best out of it. Like life is challenging. Life can be hard, you know what I mean? But it's really all about how you respond to it. So whenever I kind of run face forward in the problems, I have a, a head up, chest out kind of mentality. Most times, some days I do cower in the corner. I'm like, I don't want to do this, but a lot of days I show up with, you know what, I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna give my best regardless. And I think over time you start to see that you get better at handling tough situations. You get better at making tough decisions. You get better at dealing with pressure and chaos. While everybody is complaining about life, you're doing something about it. And that came from me ultimately being in places where life was hard and it was taking a toll on me, but and I was complaining a lot. And it's not because my complaints weren't wrong. It's not because they weren't justified. It's not because, I didn't deserve to be angry. And sometimes I'm still angry, but it was simply because of the fact that I knew, ultimately it's like, okay, well, if I want to change it, I don't think nobody's going to come help me change my situation. Not my family, not my friends. And it hurts. But once you get going, you got momentum on your side. You know what I mean? It's hard to get started, but once you get going, you got momentum on your side. And now it's like, okay, I can do this. Like, no, I really can do this. And then day after day, you prove to yourself that you can, to the point where Nobody else's opinions matter. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm doing things that even my parents couldn't bank on. Now I'm doing things that my friends couldn't bank on. Now I'm turning my life around day by day because I made a decision to just show up and just give my best. You know what I mean? And at first it's hard because you worry about what people are gonna say, you worry about what people are gonna think, but you'll start to see that you quickly, those days and those moments add up and you progress a lot faster than you thought, to the point where it's like, okay, how good can I kind of get at this thing? Like, how fast can I turn my life around? What is the next challenge for me? How can I improve my life even more? So that is the one habit I think that changed my life and is changing my life is I'm still gonna show up with a spirit of excellence and I'm still gonna do this thing with joy in my heart. And I'm just gonna give my best. I'm gonna give my best no matter what nobody else is doing. Even if people at work they want to cut corners, I'm not gonna cut corners because you start to see in your life where cutting corners do affect you. It affects your relationships, and people think that it's a quick tangent, but people think that when you want to be an entrepreneur, and I was talking to my cousin, she was like, I don't really want to work. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to own my business. What kind of business do you want? I don't know yet. I just want to How are you gonna build your business? Well, I'm gonna get clientele and I'm gonna work hard. But if you don't work hard at your job, if you don't have a sense of work ethic now, that's gonna translate to your business. If anything, you got to do more work because nobody's gonna help you. At least at work, if you slack it off as other people to pick up your slack. If you got your own business, it's not gonna work. And so she had a rebuttal for everything. And, I understood because I had been there before too. But I told her, I said, at the end of the day, if you just put in the work now, you can save yourself a lot of the headache because you're going to try to circumvent and cut corners and do this and do that. And it ultimately affects nobody but you. Ultimately, it really affects nobody but you because how your life turns out is going to be a reflection of you cutting corners. People don't think that until you see other people successful that you graduated with and you went to school with, and you like, man, how did they get there? And it's like, oh, over time. They've been putting the work in for 10 years, and I've been circumventing and cutting corners for 5. So now I only got 5 years of work put in when they got 10 years of work put in. You know what I mean? So that is what I do. That's what I challenge you to do in your life. But that's the one habit that changed my life. What is the one habit that changed your life? Drop it in the comments if you made it to the end of this video. I appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe. What is the one habit that changed your life? Here's mine. Peace.